morning, my friends. Sorry for a little bit of laggy video. Working on that. We're always working on new solutions. And thank you all for, just keep continuing to support me in this and paying attention and giving me the feedback you're giving me and participating. We're getting tremendous conversations on our DeOrganized podcasts and in our spaces. And, the tech, if you're in spaces on Twitter, or on X, and same thing with podcasting when you're streaming to multiple social channels at a time, and the tech's not always up to snuff, but we're working with it. We're always learning, and we're learning trial by fire. We're thrown right in there, and we're just doing it. And I appreciate your patience while we're growing, because we're getting a lot of traction and a lot of following and a lot of good feedback that people enjoy the content that we're producing, and also that our guests enjoy participating. So thank you for supporting the DeOrganized project. Happy Friday. What a week. Stacks Nakamoto launched. Things seem to be going really well. A couple weeks, 3-4 weeks maybe. We'll have fast blocks, 5-second blocks on block times on Bitcoin. That's amazing. So well done, everybody in the space, for all the hard work getting there. And I can't wait to see what the amazing devs in the space build off of that. Real quick with the update, Bitcoin Olympic Hackathon, BTC Labs, that is through tomorrow, I believe. There's a couple days left. Good luck to everybody there. We got the weekly SIP call at noon on X Space with Hero Gamer, talking about the Stacks improvement proposals and what's on tap. I don't know if he has anything specific that he's talking about. Maybe SBTC. That was part of the conversation last week. Some really interesting stuff there. Good for Bitcoin with Trust Machines is on X at 2 p.m. And then StacksCon and the Stacks Latin America space is at 4 p.m. And that's also alongside at 4 p.m. Wolf Web 3 Bitcoin Layer 2 Stacks. And that's also at 4 p.m. And then Dan and B-Rad with Nakamoto Friday from 5 to 7. It's an awesome show. Always a great stuff. I'm pretty sure Dan's going to be talking about Nostr and some of the ways that might integrate with some things in the future, and or just how to set up a Nostr and use it. It's a really cool app. And actually, my experience with Nostr had been maybe a year ago or several months ago, and it seems that there are better apps for it now, so it's not quite as slow and cumbersome. So check it out. 5 p.m., 5 to 7 tonight is the Nakamoto Friday with Dan and Brad. And that is that's the calendar for today. We have actually a really surprise special guest this morning. Great friend of the show, Jack Benswich, is coming on. We're gonna chat a little bit.
What's up, man?
Jack, how are you today, sir?
I'm okay. I'm glad. I'm pretty neutral in the mornings. Some people are morning people, some people aren't. But I've been kind of neutral, so it's good. Tired, but good. How about you?
Yeah, I could be about the same. Tired, but good. I didn't get to mention this earlier, but we've had they're working on our water main. There was some kind of rupture last night, so my coffee is not really drinkable because of whatever's going on with the water. So I'm a little extra tired this morning. I'm not my usual perky self.
You just gonna have to go suck on a few beans, man. You're just gonna have to.
I might chew on some beans, man.
Yeah.
Oh no, man, what a week though, huh?
Dude, it's nonstop. Like, I'm so glad you're doing this. You're making great content. And we've needed content, written, video, audio, just the whole spectrum. And now we have so much of it, and you're really killing it, because if any single person wanted to just try to keep track of what's going on in stacks right now, you're to the point where you can't. Even if you're terminally online, you can't keep track of every single thing. And then you have the broader, growing, budding Bitcoin L2 ecosystem that is also just in its infancy still, for all intents and purposes. You know, the way I conceptualize where we're at is I conceptualize Bitcoin being kind of how Ethereum was in 2018, 2019. Like, in terms of, you know, you could go, you had ERC20s that you could go buy, you know, you had these different tokens, but it wasn't until DeFi summer where people were really like on chain using Ethereum, you know, in mass. And when you look at, like, that's why I'm so bullish on Velar, because Velar is going to allow people to on chain in mass, you know, use Bitcoin via these different L2s. So that's where we're at. I feel like we're pre DeFi summer. I felt like we've been like that for a while now, and everything's just kind of coalescing and coming together, and people aren't ready. So having shows like this, the frequency, the way to kind of keep people informed is huge, because just like we saw with Ethereum, you're going to have good projects and you're going to have projects that aren't so good. So to have people who can be out there and get people to talk to, and find out what's going on and investigate and report on, it's massive, because the big crypto media can't compete with shows like this. It's the inefficiency of, you know, bureaucracy, basically, right? I mean, that they can't. You know, you have to ask someone's permission if you can write this, or you get told to do a article about this or what have you. Whereas we can just pick up what we want and be like, "Yo, check this out." So this is important.
We talk about every guest I have, you know, and obviously these are people with projects that we're spotlighting too, right? But every guest I've had on DeOrganized so far, it's about, yeah, you want to come on and talk about your project or anything else you want to talk about.
Right.
Like, I don't have anything specific I'm trying to get out. I want to actually connect people. You know, there's people behind all these projects, and
Right.
there's really awesome people behind all these projects. And I'm finding out every day, I'm floored with how engaging and cooperative, like all of the guys on that show yesterday, on the podcast yesterday, Rash, Gnome, Off My Lawn, you were on there, Hattie, even Nick in the background. Everybody's very just friendly and interested in sharing, even though there's some competition, right? They're not all there. They kind of, they do some of the same things differently. And it's a decentralized marketplace, but they're not adversarial. They're not trying to knock each other down. And we're really all building for the same goal, ultimately, to build the space into something usable for mass adoption. That's really what we're all working towards. But and that's
there's
and
two
there's
things.
not enough bandwidth to cover all of this stuff on your own. Nobody can really follow all these things and understand them.
No,
So,
and there's two things I want to say. The first one is getting to your point about the spirit not being competitive, and the reason why is, and people have heard me talk about scarcity mentality before. The reality of the situation where we're at is that we're not all fighting for the same, you know. I hate using this analogy. I hate corporate analogies in general, but sometimes you just gotta swallow your pride and go with it, because it's 7 a.m. and you're tired. But we're all sitting here using, you know, we're not fighting over the same pie, you know, because the size of the pie is only going to grow. The size of the pie is very small relative to where it's going to be. So you can see this unique President Trump talked about it when he was at the Bitcoin conference. It doesn't have to be cutthroat, because you're just on this bleeding edge, right? And there's so much growth to transpire that everybody can win, and it
Right.
just becomes
so you
degrees of
have a
winning.
pie, right? To go back to your analogy, you have a pie. And if you just look at the pie and everyone's trying to share the one pie, it can kind of start to feel uncomfortable until you acknowledge or realize that you have an abundance of ingredients to make many more pies.
Right.
There's plenty of opportunity to have pie for everybody. Sometimes we got to put some more ingredients together and do a little bit more work to bake a new pie. But there's plenty of pie.
That's exactly right. And the other thing it was funny because you mentioned Resh, and everybody kind of knows me as this huge Velar bull, and because I'm extraordinarily bullish on Velar. But Resh is how I learned about Velar in the first place. Like, I remember this going back to like 2023, and he's like, dude, you got to check out this Velar and these Velar guys. And so like that's when I was still writing, all the time. I still had my podcast and the first iteration of it, and that he was kind of like the one who linked that together. So like it just goes to show you exactly what you're talking about. Like even then, this idea of like this communication, connecting people, getting that turned out to be one of the biggest unforeseen consequences of writing and all those years is other builders got to see what other builders were doing because everyone was heads down building, and like it's really cool and this is really important. So just getting back to the original point was like the space needs this, the Bitcoin space needs this, and you're doing a fantastic job. So this is really, really cool to join you this morning and be able to talk about this space that we love so much,
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And honestly, it's all there are a lot of super chads in the space, and you're one. You really do. You build just a ton of stuff. You put people together and you come up with ideas. And I mean, what you and Ian have done with Rue and Invaders is amazing. But it all goes back to like you're inclusive. Like you will follow guys with 100 people on their account if they're part of your community, and when 100%. they talk to you, you answer them. You don't you're not picking and choosing. You're not just talking with people who it's not about what they can do for you.
No, and like
going on.
I would challenge anybody to follow, to not worry about the amount of followers when you follow an account, because some of the coolest people you'll meet in this space with the best content are small accounts. And, for whatever reason, whether they're new or they post infrequently or what have you, like that's such a huge thing. And getting back to what we're talking about before, with Rue and Stacks Invaders, why don't we talk a little bit about how actually you and I really got to know each other, right? Because there's a whole story about decentralized community that can actually be traced back to this very small, unassuming, event that happens a million times a day in the space, but this one particular time it was special, right? So I think, what do you think about we tell these folks a little bit about the NodeRocks?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so I found out about the NodeRocks because I had started following you on Twitter. I was looking for information about Stacks, and I came across you because you do so diligently cover what's going on there, and it makes it easy for people onboarding like me to find stuff. And so I was following you on Twitter, and I would engage with you because we have a good rapport. I like the way you see things, and I always have my own opinions, so I usually have something to say. And we had some back and forth, and you started talking about this project called NodeRocks, and it was a rugged project. It had just been rugged. It was an ordinals project that had just minted out, and then the founder disappeared, took like something like 30K or something like that, and bounced. And the community, the mantra then was, you can't rug Bitcoin,
right?
because the ordinals are on chain, and they're there forever, and the data is there, and they're unscribed on Satoshis. They have value no matter what, and they're accessible no matter what, and they're controlled by the holder. So it was reject founder, return to holders, I think was one of the slogans too, right?
Oh, there were some battle cries, man.
So, and that's where I had never really engaged much on Discord. I followed a lot of projects on Discord, but I never really engaged. This was my first engagement with community in a broad sense. Was you and the original Unrug team, the guys that were like, we got to take this back. And the story was, you had set up a separate Discord, and where I came along, it was a community that had been rugged, trying to get the attention on Twitter and in social media of Magic Eden, so that they could take over the the creator portal for the project, because the founder had rugged, and there was some problems with the JSON file that needed to be corrected. And so I'm like, I can definitely do these guys, the spirit of what was going on in there. It was like almost it was all these degens just going kind of crazy, wild, trying to, like, with all the memes we were creating to try to get traction on Twitter. And it was amazing, because we were able to get the control of the Magic Eden dashboard for the community. And then we fixed the JSON file and had all the traits. All of a sudden you could see all the traits, and then we could really figure out what the rarities were in the project. And I hadn't known any. This was my first ordinal. I hadn't been into ordinals at all. And just the community was amazing, and it was just all of this organic stuff coming together from, it was permissionless. It was very permissionless. So tell me a little bit of your experience there, like how that worked for you.
It's really cool. And before I start, I'll say this, because I've said it a million times. If it weren't for the Welsh community, my head wouldn't have been in the space it was when NodeRocks rugged, because I had just written an article about the Welsh community. And it's such an inspiring thing to see a decentralized community form and accomplish things. And this is important, and it's become one of my passions since. And NodeRocks is such a huge part of the source of that passion, because it's just a normal day. It's actually about this time of day. I checked the Honey Badgers Discord, because the Honey Badgers crazy alpha. People are minting this new collection, and so on Ordzar, right? So I'm like, cool. I'm getting ready to get ready for work. I go jump on a laptop real quick, mint a NodeRock. This is pretty cool. Got a cool diamond NodeRock. I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. Go about my day, go to work, check in the socials, and things ain't looking great already, right? But the collection does mint out, but it's very, very silent from like the developer end in that Discord. And within about 24 hours or so, it was completely evident that this was going to be a rug pull. So you're watching the price fluctuation. When people intuitively know something's about to rug, things just start dumping. And I grabbed like a couple more NodeRocks. I only had like 2 or 3 at this point. and just kind of watching to see. And it eventually comes to a point where, like, clearly the Discord at that iteration of it was just a mess, and everyone's talking about rug pull lists and that, and I could see at this point 5 or 6 dudes in there who kept showing up and kept saying things, and they obviously weren't just like, oh my god, this is the end of the world. And I was like, okay, this is the beginning of a community. Like there's like 6 of us here, 7 of us here. This is the beginning of a community. Screw this guy. Let's just take the project over. You can't rug Bitcoin. And that was kind of the genesis of it. And so you had the original NodeRocks guys, and the challenges right from the get-go, they were hard. Like this guy who created NodeRocks, I believe the story is he cheated somebody out of the art, and he just launched a collection and just rug. But the guy didn't know what the hell he was doing. Right? This is kind of interesting. When the NodeRocks came along, up until this point in ordinals, it was a handful of Bitcoin natives and Stacks people who were really messing with ordinals. And then when like Node Monkeys really kicked off with their auction of their pre-mined ordinals, the whole space went nuts, and that's when you saw the grifters come. And just to take a little side note here, that's what we're going to see in the Bitcoin space. Like we're going to see that again, that same dynamic, right? Like human nature is human nature. As more attention comes to the L2 space and more people realize it's the meta, you're going to see a lot of bullshit pop up that's going to be scammy and stupid.
The opportunists will find a way. The opportunists will find a way.
Every time.
That's why everyone has to remain vigilant and trust in your community and look before you leap.
Right.
Don't invest money you can't afford to lose in this space, because you never know. 100%. You're still building.
But like those dudes, that dude that launched that collection and rugged it, he didn't know what the hell he was doing. He didn't know what he had. And we had enough of a community to get started. So we just started plugging at it and going and wound up creating, like, if you look at all the adversity that the NodeRocks community faced and overcame, and it created like a strong bond in that early community, and it's so much fun doing that. And the whole thing was what made it all just so sweet when it was all said and done is that the NodeRocks are an exceptionally rare type of ordinal. So like there's these things called cursed ordinals. It was kind of like a bug where people could kind of exploit and make ordinals with negative numbers. And there's only like 400,000 of them because, that code was patched. There was an update pushed through called the Jubilee update. And the NodeRocks were actually launched and minted out right before the Jubilee update even took place. So within a day or two. So like, and that was another thing, making sure they were all indexed before the update went through. It was insane. But like, they're an exceptionally rare kind of ordinal. And that's really the key, because people at their core like to collect things. This is the part of what makes us human. And then when you start getting into, like, if you like collect coins, for instance, some of the most valuable coins are the coins that were screwed up at the mint in some way, right?
Right. A misprint or an error mint, because they're rare. And so when you have a collectible thing, a rare artifact like that makes it extra collectible. It's a special out of all of that collection. Right. So and so a cursed inscription, just for people that don't probably, there's a lot of people that probably aren't aware. You said there's only like a little over 500,000 of them that existed. My understanding is that there was like some kind of bug or feature in an opcode where you could inscribe an ordinal with a negative inscription number.
Right.
And then NodeRocks is a yin yang inscription because there's both a regular inscription number and a cursed inscription number, and they're tied together.
Makes
Are
them
they tied together
extraordinarily
on the
rare.
same, they're tied together on the same satoshis, right?
Right. So like, if you want to talk rarity, you know, you're talking about NodeRocks is a 10,000 piece collection of yin yang ordinals, which means you've got the positive and the negative on the same satoshi. And the best number that's ever come out of this is there's about 60,000 yin yang ordinals in existence out of it's been a while since I looked at what the last ordinal number was, but I think last time I looked we were at like 75 million ordinals. We might be way past that now. But if you take that huge number, and of all of the yin yang collections that exist, the NodeRocks is the only one that like has like a community and so forth. Like some people probably just have these things sitting in wallets, nothing's really going on. I never hear about yin yang collections. The only yin yang collection you hear about is NodeRocks. And again, that gets back to that community aspect of it. Because if it hadn't been unrugged, it just would have it's just like any other rug pull that no one ever hears anything about ever again, you know?
Right. So actually, and I want to share my screen real quick because, like you said, I hit the wrong one. It's if it hadn't been unrugged, that would have been the end of it. But it was unrugged, and so the community took over and was. So what I'm sharing right now is the Explorer platform, which you can actually keep track. You can connect your wallet. You can keep track of all your NodeRocks. And now, so you see this slider here where it flips between the regular NodeRock and another PFP. What's actually been created most recently by the community, just dropped this week, was they figured out a way to create an inscription on the curse, like a PFP imagery, to show up on the curse inscription and have it match the traits of the OG PFP that it's married to. So now, if you have, and this didn't cost anything for any holders of the NodeRocks, it's just if you held a NodeRock, you now have 2 ordinals instead of 1, which I think is just like that's not something any other ordinals collection can do, no, at least not easily. Right. And it's really, I think Zentoshi did a great job with the artwork and the idea, and it was a long time, and maybe I'm getting a little ahead of ourselves because we have this Explorer. This was also built by the community. What other? I mean, I don't know if there's any other ordinals community that was able to build up like an Explorer. And this actually has, if you see this here, it has staking. And I'm not going to log in on air, but you can actually stake your NodeRocks in here, and it's gasless staking. So you can stake your NodeRocks, and you get, right now it's in a beta. This is all still beta testing. I can't stake my rocks from my Leather wallet right now. We're not sure if it's an issue with Leather or an issue, and that had been fixed, but then they're constantly updating the thing. Right now, if you stake your rocks, and there's like airdrops of NodeRocks right now, and the plan is for a gasless like token airdrop mechanism and some other stuff there, and it's just like the community. The community is just building and building and producing, and this isn't something that could happen from a centralized project.
No, and the thing is, here's the reality of the situation. When you're talking about ordinals just in and of themselves, and then you're like curse ordinals, and you're like yin yang ordinals, and this is all very abstract, especially if you're not, if you're not intimately familiar with the subject matter. You're speaking in the abstract, and that's one of the things that I encourage everybody in this space to be aware of, is that you can't assume your audience's knowledge to be in the same area that yours is. In fact, it might even be several degrees lower because this is such a new space. So you're talking about this stuff in abstract, and here's the brilliant thing about the curse, the mutant ordinals, in the rock collection is, if you bought a node rock, if it, like when I got my first node rock from the mint, I had the actual node rock itself, and then I just had this blank looking ordinal in my wallet on the side of it. So you look at that and you see the negative inscription, you're like, okay, that's what makes these different. But now with an actual 2 PFPs on 1 Satoshi, it is so obvious to anybody that this is a distinct thing from everything else, right? There is no like my biggest ordinal collections are honey badgers and NodeRocks by far. Those, just love the honey badgers. That was my first.
Also a
ordinal.
tremendous community, and
Yeah.
there's a ton of, you mentioned Welsh and honey badgers, and there's a ton of those guys in those communities that are also NodeRocks guys.
Right. So like if you have something concrete that you can show somebody and be like, can your ordinal do this? No, it cannot. This is why, because it is this very specific, very rare type of ordinal that can no longer be created because the bug that allowed that to exist has been patched. So that's really like, now you can get to the nitty gritty. That was the brilliance of being able to add that second PFP, because now people can look at it and be like, oh, wow. And the art is really cool. Like the concept, the style, the way that that Zentoshi was able to take the original NodeRock style, which is cool in and of itself. I love the NodeRocks collection.
Hyper memeable, because there's so many different applications of a character that's like basic, not a lot of expression, but still a ton of very, very memeable art from the OG NodeRocks.
Yeah. And so here's the thing, man. Like, okay, so if you want to get down to brass tacks and get back to Welsh here for a second, for people who are new to stacks, they don't understand that, like, for the longest time, you could just go on StackSwap, which is like the OG Uniswap DEX of stacks, and there were several tokens up there, and there was Welsh, and it's just sitting there. A community was formed around Welsh and made it the premier collection, the premier meme community token, etc., on stacks. The power of community. So Ned, you look at NodeRocks and you say, okay, look at all of the things this community's done. If there are collections out there that have had more memes made than NodeRocks, there's not many. Okay, I pay a lot of attention to this stuff.
Yeah,
a more passionate community, hard to find. So like when you get to the point, and the thing that needs to happen in this space at some point, and it will, I'm sure, but you can't really put a time on things like this. You get the bullshit artist, the same scam that always gets played out in crypto is you get the asshole with 500,000 followers who gets his cut and starts shilling stuff, and people buy it, and it becomes massively successful, whether it sucks from a tokenomics level or whatever or not. It's so hype driven. But community can actually push something to be massively successful. And that's the part we have to figure out, because Bitcoin doesn't exist because some asshole with 500,000 followers was like, hey, buy Bitcoin. And he had this big old pre-mine of Bitcoin. It was all from community the whole time, right?
And it was about utility. It wasn't a pump and dump type of thing. It wasn't supposed to be a rug pull. It's designed to be anti-ruggable, for sure.
So when you're looking at like a decentralized future, which I think everyone here who's been here for a little bit of time, that's kind of like the goal. That's kind of like the vision. And you're looking at decentralized economies, you cannot overlook what a decentralized community means, nor what it can be. As far as I've gotten in my thinking, is I believe some of your biggest brands and loyalties and so forth in the future are going to be built from decentralized communities, and like the NodeRocks, like Welsh, God willing, like Rue, like you really. That's I think that's where this goes, because in the future that we're all kind of looking for, commerce is going to be completely different. Advertising is going to be completely different. The Web 2, what we think of as the internet, completely changed advertising. Why would we think that Web 3 or crypto, I hate that term, Web 3, but why would we think that advertising is not going to change because of blockchains, right? That's silly. So I do believe that decentralized community is worth the effort of trying to figure out now, and seeing what it's going to look like going forward. And you can already see the power of it in collections like Welsh. Like, how many people are talking about ordinals in general, and you still see the NodeRocks. They're still out there, still putting out information. We're talking about them right now. Massive, massive potential. Ordinals are going to make a huge comeback, um, because that's just how cycles work. Um, so, like, there's, I don't know, man. I think that decentralized community in this context is just so clearly magnified as a driving, powerful force that needs to be understood and harnessed to help create not just the different brands of the future, but you're talking about athletic sports teams, you're talking about just everything we conceive of. It's all going to change, and studying things like NodeRocks is probably a good place to start, because in reality it should be like any other ordinal collection that didn't take off, that was rug pulled, or any other meme token that was rug pulled, or NFT. Like, no one should be talking about it, but yet here it is. That's the power of community.
Exactly, man. That's it. Builders can build all they want, but if there's no community to come along and use it, then it's maybe usable, but it's not useful, right?
Right.
So community is what it's all about, and that was actually part of it. Part of the mantra too, it was of, by, and for the community. Community supports the community. The community is the utility, because if it's not useful, if there's no one that wants to use it, then it doesn't matter how usable it is. You need the community there, and with the community, you can make something out of what really should be nothing.
Right.
It should have been a dead project, and because there were people that saw things differently, were empowered. We don't need your permission to set up an alternate Discord.
Right.
We don't need your permission to try to get Magic Eden's attention and show them that this project exists, but the community owns it now. There's no founder. And, that's a risk. That was a risk on Magic Eden's part too. It took a lot to convince them to give over the creator rights to a project that somebody else abandoned, because it's hard. That's a big ask for a for-profit organization to potentially be harming one of their actual customers, right? So,
Yeah.
But that is the power of community. We were able to show, hey, this has value. This belongs to all of us. Look, this is who holds this. It's not, and that's really that's what the ordinals are about. That's what a decentralized community is about. Is working together for a collective goal based on all of our own individual self-interested goals that align.
Right.
And what incentivizes the behavior for moving us all together. Some really great stuff. So I think we should I think we're going to talk about a little bit more on the DeOrganized space this Wednesday at noon. We're going to have you on. Maybe we'll chat a little bit more. I might actually be able to get Zentoshi to come on. He indicated he was potentially interested in the idea if he's available. So we might have Zentoshi come on and chat a little bit more about the NodeRocks, and maybe there'll be some announcement of some information that be interesting to the community of people that are interested. Maybe you have a bunch of NodeRocks but you're interested in accumulating more, or maybe you don't have any NodeRocks and you're looking for an opportunity to get one or learn more about them. Maybe we'll have some more information on the or because it's a space, you can come up and ask questions and ask us about it and learn more about it. So NodeRocks oriented DeOrganized space on Wednesday with probably some alpha and some news where people might be able to earn some more stuff. Kind of like the bounty program. You just launched another bounty with ZeroAuthority DAO too, right? With you had done the art one, and I was too busy. I didn't even get a chance to, and I felt bad because I really wanted to, because I'm going to write an article for you guys anyway, but I'd always love a couple stacks for my work, right?
Yeah, dude, that's the coolest thing. Like when I was trying to like write and stuff a lot, man, like Siegel back then, it was still being developed. You couldn't even monetize it yet, and I'm doing all this, and like that was my whole dream. Like, man, if I could actually like make some stacks or some Bitcoin from doing this, that would just be the dream come true. And like we're here. Like we're actually here. That's why I love doing the bounties on ZeroAuthority DAO, because like, dude, I want to, meme contest. Hell yes. Let me throw some stacks at you, make some dope memes, and someone's going to be able to get paid for their work. Like that stuff. Those dudes are so far ahead of the curve. They've been ahead of the curve. It's
awesome stuff they're building. Awesome stuff they're building. I can't wait till V2 launches. I've seen some of the art or the interface, the user side and the UX, and it looks super fire. Rocky's been building out some really neat looking stuff for them on that end. And I think there's definitely, we need this gig marketplace. We need the ability to, there's a ton of people that I want to be able to say, hey, can you do this for me in a like a Fiverr, but with the people in our community, and I know who they are because they have, not only do I know who they are, but it's all on chain. I know that that's who I'm dealing with, and I'm paying them, and I'm not, and there's no third party, and it doesn't have to be an employment. It's just hey, I want to do this. Can you do this for me? And I know you did, because hey, you did this for Jack, and hey, you did this for Zero, and hey, you did this for Good Kitty, and all these people that have I can't wait until that goes. But the bounties thing has been, I can't believe they had so many people jump on it early. We have one for DeOrganized, I think. I haven't looked at it today. As of yesterday, I still held bragging rights. I had the most submissions on my bounty out of all of everybody so far. So you guys got to catch up.
And then when you get into when you get into the reputation piece and all of those things, it really starts to open up, and you start seeing the different possibilities of what could be. And for me personally, like when it comes to Rue or Stacks Invaders, those are my projects. Ian and I's, like I get people reach out to me all the time and be like, hey, I want to promote your project. And that can go from all the way to just the most scammiest thing to people who are, legit. And for me, and I could just be stupid, but for me, I would rather like take someone from the community and build them up. And if I can like put out bounties to like effectively do the same thing and like build people up within the community, because people who participate in communities, they love this space, they enjoy this, they want to grow, they want to do more. Why? I would much rather do that than take someone who's found a way to make a cynical business model and do something that is important, because all of this this is an attention economy. So it isn't important, and you're at a disadvantage if you don't do it. But that's like the beauty part of Zero Authority, and bounties and doing stuff within the community. Instead of giving just someone who knows nothing about Rue or Stacks Invaders or anything to put something flashy together and get some heat on X. Man, if I'm going to do that, I'd rather just have a contest within the community and be like, do your best. Let's generate this heat ourselves. Let's do it this way.
It's organic, and
Right.
of course, yeah, you want the people. Of course, you want to give the people that want to be there and are participating anyway without an incentive. You want to give them the first crack at getting incentivized for. They already have a proof of work. They're already here. I have my Rue badge. I've been here. I participate. I come in. I didn't get any of the 1v1s, but you know what? If I did, they wouldn't be, if everyone could get one, they wouldn't be that cool, right? So I participated. I didn't win. Sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. I consider myself very lucky just to have gotten in at the mint on the first Rue mint. That first project. I think I was like the last one that got there. I was on my transaction hadn't even completed when Stu announced on that space that you guys had minted out. I thought I missed it, and then I saw it in my wallet. I was like, yes, I got my.
Dude, it's so much, like, all this stuff is fun, and it's exciting, and it's fascinating at its, it truly is. It's fascinating to see how it works, and to see where it can be better. And I'm so bullish on like the better ways of doing things. The space is maturing, and we have these different tools, and like that's the reason why, like, if you pay attention to the chatter on X this last year, you had a bunch of sour grapes from venture capitalists who, they're like, wow, all these meme coins are making money and nothing else. There's no attention. Well, venture capitalists are constrained by how they use their funds, and so they have to be very, very cautious about, well, is this going to get us in trouble? Is that going to get us in trouble? And really, you put that blame straight where it belongs, on the government in the United States of America, for being so regressive and just absolute horseshit when it comes to their crypto policy. But
it's also that's a bought and paid for policy too,
right? Oh, 100%.
Politicians do what they're paid to do.
100%. That's
not to disrupt your thought process there.
No, but you're 100% right. They're carrying water for their donors when they do things like that. But that's the reality. But you see, the whole thing is, all of this stuff, it brings it right back to community. You have to be able to build the community. You have to be able to understand the people. You have to have time in the space. You have to have all of these things, and then you also have to do something that's going to be fun, exciting, experimental, and that can give the people who are participating in whatever your protocol or project is, that can give them value. And that's really like that's what you're going for. You want the community to give the project value. You want the project to give the community value, and the end result of that is more growth. And then you go from there and be like, well, NodeRocks, what does IP look like in a decentralized world? Well, I'll tell you what IP looks like in a decentralized world. It doesn't matter, right? So, okay, to just real quick caveat. When Ordinals first came out, there was a collection that took the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? And put them all on Bitcoin, right? Just pixel for pixel, put them all on Bitcoin. In fact, it's by size, like actual physical size on a blockchain. I think it's the largest collection. Everything was so new then, the fees weren't an issue, so it was affordable. And all Bored Ape Yacht Club could really do about it is stomp their feet and threaten some exchanges. Well, Yuga, not Bored Ape, but Yuga, the company that owns apes. All it could really do is throw a hissy fit and threaten some exchanges. Like IP and how we conceptualize it with Disney and so forth now, it's all dead. It's done. So you take something like NodeRocks and you take all the things we're talking about, the community and driving and everything, and that's how it fits into what's going to be the brands, what's going to be the things like Rue. Dude, there's people that are making Rue clothing, Rue coffee mugs, they have Rue stores, they all of these different things because yes.
I see Welsh merch. NodeRocks has merch. We got 300 making songs for everybody. I'm pretty sure NodeRocks was the first one. But there's people making clothing. There's I don't have my little Dr. Grandiavalo toy, but I had a 3D. I think you got a couple. Yeah. Somebody made you some 3D toys. Dude, man, that's real. That's wealth building. That's actually. That's economic generation and wealth building.
What you'll see is you're going to see things go from speculative to like where this stuff actually fit. So like that's and all you need to do for proof of that is look at Pizza Ninjas, right? Like Trevor just straight up will say this is going to be one of the biggest IPs in the world, and he's probably right. But that's a dude that lives ahead of the curve. So like when you look at all of these different things, so it's on Bitcoin, you cannot destroy it. It's completely it's all there. Like, what's that IP look like later? And then we're narrowing it down to, merchandise, but where does it really go? Who's going to make the NodeRocks animated movie using AI and distributing it via NFT token gating? And you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's
people,
right.
Yeah, people don't spend enough time thinking about this stuff, but that's what's coming. And that's what makes all of this so cool. And at the core of it all is the community, because if you don't have the community, none of that shit happens.
Period. Exactly right. Exactly right. 100%, man. And that's really what it all boils down to. That's without a community, we wouldn't be doing this podcast, right? I think there's almost 70 people live watching us right now. I think that's, which I know in the grand scheme of things, that's a small number, but for a brand new podcast and a couple of guys
that's huge.
It's a huge number. And thank you all for tuning in. That's really, we appreciate you all. We're doing this for you. This isn't just Jack and I we could have a conversation in private and it would probably be very similar to what we're having a conversation now. But we're trying to bring this information to everybody and get everyone else involved too. So, man, I've had you a lot longer than we were expecting this morning. So I don't want to we could go all day, but I don't know if people want to listen to us more than 55, 60 minutes at a time. No, right?
We'll just do it again. That's just how we roll.
Absolutely, man. We will definitely keep doing this again. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm very bullish on you, man. I'm bullish on the space that we're in. And I actually think that this DeOrganized thing is going to be pretty good too. Thank you, Bitcoin Live, for allowing us to use your platform. We love these guys. They do a great job. And this wouldn't be possible without them either. And it's Friday, right? Friday, long weekend. Everyone should take a break, finish out the day strong, and then, touch some grass tomorrow.
And unless the charts, unless it gets real bullish, then we just back at chart watching and degening,
Yeah, but everyone has cell phones now. You can put your feet in some grass and still watch the charts.
That's it.
Trading View is on my phone too. That's not financial advice, by the way. Thank you, Jack,
Facts.
brother. You have a great weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody out there, for tuning in. I am Peace Love Music with DeOrganized, and I love you all. Have a great day.